No, sir, no one is signed up for public
Nobody signed up for
comment.
public comment. Just make note of that. Police officer retirement. Officer Laura Canonizado.
This,
Hey, Laura.
Officer, we would like to recognize, come on up, we'll make you come up.
Joining you.
We're not letting you retire, Laura, so it doesn't really matter.
Officer Canizado has been our officer for a dozen years. She was one of the first that came on when we decided to go away from a security company to actual PD, and was very instrumental in helping us get that all set up, and has been the, I guess, sergeant over everybody and the scheduling and everything. But she and I work together at the airport. So she's also the security out at the airport. And she is retiring. When the ARB was here, because she works very tightly with them, we did recognize her and gave her a plaque. But I felt like I wanted to give you guys an opportunity. We have been so lucky having the police presence here has really diffused a lot of situations. We had a burglary, a theft at Bassett, and the guy ran here for protection and ran right into our officer. So, it's not just here that things happen. So my staff feels a lot more comfortable. The public visits with them, asks questions, and so they've become part of our family. So I wanted to thank her publicly and on record and in front of y'all for her service here.
Thank you.
Well, we all want to
It's
tell
been a
you,
pleasure.
we want to
It's been
tell you thank you. And thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. Don't make yourself a stranger. You can still run to actually serve on our board someday. There's a good chance that there'll be openings. So we want you to consider it, but at least we want you to know how much we appreciate it.
You can be here one with another.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
We appreciate your service.
Believe it or not, we've already hit her up to run, so I don't know.
Thank you very much.
I'll be here handing out flyers to vote for me.
Careful, we're voters. We will vote for you. Careful, you might get elected. All right, introduction of the incoming Texas Association of Assessing Officers, President Melissa Fernandez.
Ms. Fernandez, we're very, very proud.
Yeah.
This is only the second time in the history of Texas Association of Assessing Officers that we've had a president from El Paso CAD. Melissa is a registered professional appraiser, started out in the phone bank.
Yes.
And worked her way up. She is now one of our value department, our litigation group, and does with Eddie and Imelda and Felipe, is the one that does our lawsuits and does our mediations. And she started out on committees at TAAO and ended up being in charge of committees. She was the director for the region, and now she's going to be the incoming president.
Yes.
So, Melissa, if you want to say a few words.
So this is our logo for next year. So kind of wanted to throw a little bit of El Paso into it. So we've got the mountain in the back with the star. And then our theme is going to be back on track, ain't no stopping us now. So we kind of had some hiccups with COVID happening and stuff like that. So 2020, it got canceled that year. 21 happened, and so my years, hopefully it'll be a good year, But this is kind of what they're looking at as far as the way our slogan's going to look.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is a great honor for El Paso to have the president of TAAO come from El Paso. Guys, don't minimize that. That is a great honor. This is a very well-deserving individual who has served our community well for years. And now for us to share her with the state, in her position with the state, is just a great accreditation for us, a validation of all the work that this team does. So I can't tell you how proud we are of you, Melissa. Thank you. We share in your glory. You're wonderful.
And if I
thank you.
can add to that, because Melissa is part of the litigation department, and that's the department I work with most frequently, of course, she does a great job. All of them do, of course, but I'm happy to see that you received this honor. I think it's well deserved. Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I will tell you one thing, guys, because you haven't been there, but if you go to these TAAO conventions or IAAO conventions, and you see what a little town in West Texas does to represent itself so strongly among the assessing officers all over the, not just all over the state, all over the country, and then really all over the world when it's IAAO, you would be so proud of this team that they've put together and who we are. It's so well represented, so well presented, and a great honor to this community. And I don't think it gets the accolades. I don't think it gets the credit that it deserves for how we represent El Paso and how we represent Texas. So thank you for what you do, Melissa. Thank you. All right.
And thank the board because of our education that we give our staff, the interest they get in these organizations and the designations they get and the committees we tell them, yes, we want them involved in these organizations because the more knowledge we get, the better our district is. So very proud of them.
Join us. You guys all can have a wonderful 3 days somewhere. I don't know, where's the next convention?
The TAAO, it will be next
Houston.
August. The TAAD is going to be Houston in February.
Right.
The TAAO is going to be August where?
It's gonna be in the Kalahari in Round Rock.
Oh, that's
Round Rock.
nice.
Austin
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, so you have TAAO, which is the Association of Assessing Officers, and TWAD, which is the Association of Districts. And then you have IAAO, and we're involved in all of them. Yeah.
So it's a great experience, and you really do get to see where we fit. And their sessions are incredibly informative about how we can fulfill our role better here. So I know you tried to go, Sergio, the last one, you
Yes,
just
I
the
did.
last minute had to pull out. If you can go, go.
I did. It conflicted with one of the county conferences that I had to attend because
Right.
You will be
NAC.
overwhelmed by
But
how
I
well
will
received El
attend next
Paso.
year for sure.
You will be overwhelmed by how El Paso is represented. And when you go around and you meet the vendors, they know El Paso. And they're all vying for our business, but more importantly, they have the experience to say, I was talking to Eagle about what they do for us as far as shooting the
The aerials.
pictures, right?
the
And their
photography.
challenge with Juarez, they have to actually fly into Juarez to come back. So they had to get special permission from the Mexican government to fly into Juarez to come back and shoot the pictures. We don't even know. You sit here and we don't even know that. But they do, and they did that. And I think going to these conventions is invaluable. So if you get a chance, don't miss it. And speaking of that, we just had one in Salt Lake City. I did get to go. Unfortunately, I didn't get to stay for the gala, but I hear that was okay. But I was there for 4 days, 3.5 days, and I did get to go a lot of sessions. I went to every session. So the sessions were about every a couple hours, and they go on throughout the day. So here's a picture I'm going to send around of all of the participants in the Salt Lake City. You can look at it. There's a couple big fat guys in the back. Just try to ignore them. But everybody else was fine. And I have to tell you that I've gone to 2 of these, one in Boston and this last one in Salt Lake City. In Boston, our IT team, IT is a big deal because it's so easy to corrupt your information. Once your information is corrupted, it's out. Dallas's information was corrupted. They had to pay, I think we talked about this a couple of months ago, they had to pay $700,000 to ransom back their stuff. And the people were in Nigeria and they wanted $2 million. And it was negotiated at $700,000. They only got back part of their information, but they were able to rebuild after getting that. So IT is crucial. Well, I want you to know Rodolfo, wherever he is now, I don't even see him anymore, but he actually, he's sitting behind me. So he actually made a presentation. He and Chris. He and Chris made a presentation in Boston that went before everybody. It was one of those sessions that had to do with IT. And it was led by our 2 guys from El Paso. So how do we lead the way? That's how we lead the way. So that was nice. That was real nice. He got to give the session. We were real proud he got to give the session. Well, guess what? This year he brings back this award. So he won the Distinguished Assessment Jurisdiction Award. This is a big deal. Even though it looks like a little bitty trophy, this is a big deal. I mean, there were only, I think, 7 of these that they gave in the whole convention.
Well, there's only 2 of the distinguished assessments.
I mean, this was a big deal. And this was at the special awards ceremony that they had in the morning of the day where they only give out awards. That's all they did then. So I want to thank the whole IT team, I almost said Rodolfo, but it's not just Rodolfo, it's the entire team, everybody, for representing us well, making us look good, and more importantly, protecting us all year long to make sure our information is privy only to us, as it should be, and giving us the suggestions, giving our team the suggestions about don't open this and don't open that and watch over this and watch over that. So this is a well-deserved award. And these guys deserve your applause and your thanks. So I'm telling you, this is a big deal, okay? I want you to know.
Well, in your write-up, it tells you a little bit about what the award is. It is international. It's something that we've been working on. We do have a customer service award from IAAO, and we've been working on this. And every time we come up with a project that we submit, oh, no, it's not quite what they want. And so we're very, very excited. We just kept, it's a squeaky wheel. We just got to keep going and going. And we were really excited with the project that they came up with and the distinguished. And they look at the entire operation of an appraisal district when they're looking at it. They may look at one that was submitted, but the entire district's operation is also reviewed for this award. So we're busting at the seams,
That's awesome.
Trying not to be too, patting ourselves on the back, but it was a lot of work, and we're just really thrilled to be recognized.
How many years was this in the making? I know. 10 years, guys.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell you how long it took.
Decade, wow.
This was 10
Well,
years.
when you think about it, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
So it's a worldwide organization. So we fight every state,
Country.
Canada, the European Union, England,
You guys went up-
Australia.
Went up against the whole world.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
10
I'm excited
years.
for our staff.
That is
I remember Rodolfo coming to me and
huge
says,
accomplishment.
it's been 10 years it took us to win this.
But thank you, board members, for allowing us to
That's awesome.
to be
Very proud.
participants
Good
in
job.
organizations
Very,
like
very
this.
proud.
When you go to these organizations and somebody says where they're from, oh, I know El Paso now, which is kind of nice to
And you know
hear
what?
that.
Sometimes I truly believe that's a huge award. Did we tell the mayor about such an important
We
award?
put out
Or
a-
news media. I mean,
We
this
put
should
out
have
a
been-
press release
Yes.
to all of the media, whether it was email news, TV news, whatever. Press release went to everybody. And the El Paso Inc. put it under their business announcements at the last paragraph. We're the kind of organization people like to hear bad things about. They're not so interested in good things. When I was on the board of directors for the International Association, we put out a press release. It never showed up on anything. When I was the president of the TAD, the Texas Association of Appraisal Districts, we put out a press release. With Melissa being the president, we'll put out a press release. Again, you can only
So
put
it
stuff
only
out and hope
works-
they get it.
It only works, Dinah, if you have a personal connection. So if you'll send it to me or one of us who has a personal connection with the media, like Bob Moore with El Paso Matters or with El Paso Inc. or with the El Paso Times or the TV stations, unless I called up like Saul Signs and said, look, this is a big deal.
Well, when you were on 7 Extra, I almost called and said,
I'm telling you, we have the ability to make the connection, but it's going to take a personal. We were going to get a press officer for the South Press District, but it cost us money, so we decided to save the money.
Yes,
Not sure
thank
the entities would have appreciated it. All right, we're on number 5, which is approval and signing the minutes. We can't sign the minutes because our secretary is not here, but we can approve the minutes. So if you've had a chance to look them over, I will entertain a motion to accept them. They're on section tab 5.
Motion to approve the minutes for August.
Second? By Mr. Arabali. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, review and approval of a financial report for July of 2023.
Good evening, board members. Rosa Goldman, Chief Financial Officer. And we are presenting the financial report for July 2023. The report contains the balance sheet, report of revenues, expenditures, and changes in cash balance, the investment report, and the note to the financial report. As you can see on the third page, for the month of July, we have 2 accounts that are over budget. Printing by $5,553. We needed ARB hearings procedures packet and additional employee business cards. And then the appraisal review board is over budget by $35,480. It was an increase in protest and hearings that we didn't account for. It's kind of difficult to budget exactly how much it's going to be. But overall, the expenses are within budget, so we are good. These are basically small amounts, compared to the overall budget. Under the encumbered funds, we still have the litigation reserve for the $914,227 and the TCDRS for $329,000. We haven't used any of that yet. Are there any questions?
That reserve, just for the sake of information, maybe have to be used, some of that will have to be used for an election.
Which one, Mr. Burke?
More than likely, the litigation reserve, if we need, the board last month allowed us in this budget that we're getting ready to finish to hold back $527,000 that was out of the contingency that we did not use. But we're very possibly are going to need another 200,000+ plus or minus when we get the actual numbers. So at that time, we'll come to the board and ask permission to either take it out of the contingency or out of the litigation reserve. It is for the election and only the election, and it is an unfunded mandate. We have to do it, but we won't know the full amount until probably probably March.
Does everybody understand what we're talking about?
Mr. Chairman, question.
Sure.
Isn't the state going to give us money
No, sir.
for this election?
No,
Unfunded
sir.
mandate.
Unfunded mandate, zero money.
You have to do it, we're telling you to do it, but we're not going to pay for it.
Yes, sir.
And so it comes from the taxpayers.
And
It's going to come
cost of
from
that.
your entities, including the city. It's going to come from your entities.
The estimate that we received, a very rough estimate, and it was itemized from the elections office, was right under 700,000 for a May election. So the 527, we know, won't cover, but at least that will help us so we don't have to take so much. Because our budget, majority of the budgets of the appraisal districts were already set.
$700,000.
Oh, I think that's low. I think it'll be more than that.
Melissa,
I didn't mean to step over you. I just wanted.
there is
So, no questions?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
these
No,
are.
I'm sorry.
Oh, this there.
I'm getting.
These
Yeah,
are the questions.
just questions about where the money's going to come from.
Because you mentioned that money's there. Well, the money's there, but the money's going to be.
Right
earmarked.
now, it is under contingency. We are taking it out of contingency. So right now, we are good so far. But of course, this report is as of July. We still have August and September to go for the fiscal year. We don't know how those months are going to be, but as of right now, there is enough for that particular line item. Yes.
Just to expand a little bit upon what you were saying, Eduardo, Eddie, it's going to be, there's no other election at that time. So unfortunately, the only election will be this stupid election.
We have to pay
I shouldn't
it's
say,
countywide.
this interesting election that we're going to have to do.
Yeah.
So it's just sad that it has to be done independent of any other election where we could piggyback this on, and then it would cost us substantially less. But if we have to run a special election just for this, that's why the cost
What is this election?
May.
May?
of
See, there is
2024.
2024, May of 2024 is the first one. The next one will be in November. So that will be when there's others. So we'll be able to, we'll get a proration amount or a shared amount. But this May of 2024, there was no elections planned. So this is a special election only for Board of Directors members. We have to pay the whole full amount countywide.
But isn't this, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this only if the proposition passes in November?
Correct.
It's going to pass, Jackie, because the
I
proposition.
mean, it is, because it's $100,000.
Raising the
Exactly.
Right,
exemption.
the exemption to
So-
100,000.
Who's going to vote against giving
Well,
themselves $60,000?
Yeah,
of
I
money?
agree. I mean, I know it's going to pass, but you got to get the voters out there too.
Right.
But
It's going to
If
pass.
it's-
snuck in there, but
Right.
I'm just saying it is contingent, right?
That
upon
passage,
this.
right.
So
Okay.
for you
Say-
entities,
If it didn't pass, then all this money that we already took out would go back to go back to the entities in the percentage that they pay in, so.
Because, I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure it's going to pass, but I just want to make sure I was right.
More
and
importantly,
Yes.
guys,
It's contingent on.
you represent the school district, you represent the county, you represent the school district. You better know that when we raise this exemption from 40,000 to 100,000,
Right.
you're gonna get less money, a lot less
Gonna
money.
hurt.
So I mean, you think about it, it's great, we're gonna save an extra $60,000 over the exemption. That's $60,000 divided by times 3% is each one of those is $1,800 less going to the entities, whether it's the city, mainly the county or the school districts. The city can make up for, but the school districts, pretty much, this is their source of revenue. And for the county, you have a couple of options, but really, this is your main source of revenue. So it's going to be severely impacted by raising that exemption from 60 to
And
40,000.
I don't mean to tie it all in, but we do have a financial report out there that needs to be approved, that has.
Any other
nothing to-
questions?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right, I will entertain a motion to accept the financial support pending audit, subject to audit.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Rosa. Okay, taxpayer liaison report.
Ms. Carter has given me permission to fill in the board. She has family issues. Her parents are ill and her brother is on life support. So I had told her that I would give her report. Basically what it was for a timeline, but she did ask me to tell you that that's why she's not here. Y'all know Ms. Carter, Tracy's always here. So she was going to try and be here. She needs to be with her family. So basically what she wanted to go over was the timeline for the appointment of the Appraisal Review Board for 2024. She and I met with the judge, and we all agreed in reading the Senate bill that the judge can appoint the A or B members for the 2024 term. After the election, it goes back to the Board of Directors to appoint the Appraisal Review Board members. But you can't do that until the election because two of the members that are elected have to be a part of the quorum that appoints the ARB. So that'll be for 2025. So for 2024, we met with the judge and we all agreed. So the press release went out September 3rd and is going out September 24th. It's an advertisement for applications for the Appraisal Review Board. It went out in the Times, the El Dario, the El Paso Inc., and to community organizations. We put it in the El Dario in Spanish so that people can see. The deadline is October 16th for submitting those applications. The judge has already set the interviews. Will be here in our office on the 30th and 31st of October. The judge interviews everyone that applies. With Tracy Carter, the liaison officer. None of my staff or myself can be involved in that process at all. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same way when you guys have to do it. Tracy will be working with you to see, is a committee appointed to do the interviews, and then the committee comes in with a recommendation. That'll be something we'll set up in the bylaws and the procedures. The selection from the judge will be by November 17th. And then the appointment, November 17th, the judge will appoint the ARB chairperson, the secretary, and then she's allowed them to have a deputy secretary, which is not required by the code. So Tracy wanted me to give you a heads up on what the timeline is. So by the 17th of November, we'll have our slate, our ARB members for 2024. Okay?
I don't know how it's going to work for them to be confidential. We're the ones appointing them. So I think it was a real good idea that they were confidential and that there was distance between the board itself and the ARB. But I guess this is going to put the ARB under this board, which kind of absolves the confidentiality of the whole process. So I don't know. It'll be what it'll be.
It's
We'll have to
very,
deal with it.
very interesting.
2-year terms, by the way. These ARB members receive 2-year terms. We did set up a new policy for paying them, and the longer they stay on the ARB and they gain more, I guess, experience, they get paid a little bit more for that. So
I remember that.
That was approved last month by the
Yeah,
Board
I
of
remember
If
Directors.
you were here, you saw it. If you weren't here,
It's in the minutes, the amounts are in the minutes, so if you're,
just so that you know.
That. I
see
read
the
it.
And
amounts.
that's to keep them in place, yeah.
Well,
through
the big
experience.
problem for me is, I like the idea of the distancing between this board and the ARB board. And then I guess that's not gonna exist if we
It's not
are,
gonna happen next year.
I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays through. Maybe I won't be here. We'll just move on.
No.
All right, any other
Everybody be
questions?
here.
Any questions of the taxpayer liaison? All right, and
Right.
tell her, honestly, this board is entirely with her and feels for her and understands what she's going through and prays that all go well for her and her family.
I will.
And that
I
she's
definitely
part
will.
of our heart and our soul, and we care about her. Chief Appraiser Report.
All right, so for those of you who are not aware, but I'm sure you are, we have sent to all of the entities the Board of Directors letters for the 2024 placement. We tried to call as many as we could and talk to them. We cannot tell them who to appoint or reappoint, or, but we strongly asked. Encouraged, asked, begged, borrowed, steal, whatever you want to say, to keep the board the same for the 2024 year. Because December 31st of 2024, everybody's off and it starts fresh. So based on the voting process that will go into effect in September 2024, for those 5 that will be appointed instead of the 9. So we did reach out, and of course, the letters went out. I believe you also received letters showing what we sent out to your entity. So please, if you're interested, talk to the people that appoint you, and see if they can't leave you on for the 2024 year to make it a smoother transition. Since y'all are part of it now and know the changes that we have to put into place, you would really be beneficial in helping us change those bylaws to meet those changes. We're doing something different this year. Oh, before I forget, the board meeting for October has been moved to the following Thursday, October 26th. Okay, so giving you heads up for that. The November meeting will be the same. That's going to be the 16th. But the October board member had to be moved down a week. David, myself, Rosa, and Rick have to attend a mandatory financial class since we deal with taxpayer funds. And they only offer one, and it's every other year. And unfortunately, it was offered the week that we have our board, so that's been moved down. We're doing something new this year, and I wanted to bring the board up to speed. On the 9th of October, one of our holidays used to be Columbus Day, it's now the Indigenous Peoples' Day. We're switching over our computer switches that weekend, and they really needed to have the 4 days. So we got our heads together, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And so we are going to close the building for Tuesday, October 10th, and do a total in-house training of all staff members. All staff members. It's a customer service, mental health, security type training. We have 4 different people that are coming in. We're dividing all of the departments into 4s, so the entire staff will be divided into 4s. It'd be like a little mini conference where you go from one session to the next session. We have 2 in the morning, an hour and a half each speaker, and 2 in the afternoon, and we'll have a little lunch for everybody. One of the speakers is going to be our own HR attorney, Chris Barunda. One of the sessions will be her, and she'll be talking about employment law and do's and don'ts of what to be careful for. There's a lot of issues now about people using cell phones, taking stuff out of context. So she'll be dealing with that. We have the El Paso Sheriff's Department, one of the sessions, and they'll be talking about job safety, active shooter training, and job safety on the job, and how to possibly spot somebody that could be volatile. So that'll be one of the trainings. The other one is going to be with Emergence Health, and they'll be talking about mental health, self-care, well-being, how not to burn out, not just in an office, but at a home, a home situation that maybe you're going through. And then our big speaker is a gentleman by the name of Steve Gillian. He's from the Speaker Hall of Fame, and he's going to be talking on leadership and customer service and career, how you can better yourself to better your career and move up. So we felt like this was a good opportunity. I've always wanted to do this. It's entire staff, from our front desk and custodial all the way up through management. We're going to be mixed in. We're going to do an evaluation. HR is putting all this together. They're going to have an evaluation form afterwards, not just to evaluate what did they think of these topics, but what did they think overall? Is it something they would like to see more often? Maybe once a year we do this. And what would be some of the suggestions they would like to see? Our appraisers always have to go to training. You know, they have to continue to keep their designations, so they have to go to classes for continuing education. And we always do customer service ethics. I'm going to be teaching ethics to all of the staff in the first week of October. Those that have to have it to keep their designations, but new staff members that are clerical, and so this is something we want to try. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to be, so far, we've sent out an email to everybody, and so far, we've had some really good response from staff. So I wanted you to know, so if you get a phone call from somebody who says, I went to the appraisal district and it was closed, we have it on the banner. We already have signs posted. That Friday of that weekend, we've got a big sign that's going to go on the front door, but we already have small signs throughout by the elevators. We have signage post. Again, it's on our banner, on our website. So we've got the information out there to tell people. So I'm hoping to be able to bring back, it's kind of a pilot program, a good report to the board as to how that went over with staff. I think it's a great opportunity for all the staff to feel that they're appreciated enough that we give training. So, yeah. So anyway, so that is in on my report. And if anybody has any questions about anything else, I'll be happy to.
So the staff will get continued education credits for that day.
Right. We're going to submit it to TDLR, Texas Department of License and Reg, to see if they will grant a couple of credit hours for some of these. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if anybody wants to go, we'll make it open
Hey,
to the
yeah,
board,
come on
too.
over.
So if you want to visit, be right too. Any other questions of our appraise director, our chief appraiser? Thank you guys for being here. It's only out of respect for the organization and out of respect for each other that we have these meetings. And so to think that we may not have enough business and that you may not want to come, it's a bad thought. We need at least a quorum of 5 to make a meeting. So hopefully at the next meeting, everybody will be here on time. And out of respect for Eddie, well, I'll be here on time for you. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Stand adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, board members.
No problem.
Be sure and take your
Time
time.
is 5:45. 5:47.
And what time we started at
So you're
5:14?
survey as well?